Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TechRaptor podcast. I'm Robert Scarpanito, your features editor.
And Rotten, editor-in-chief.
Rutledge Doggett, site founder.
Andrew Stretch, bat editor.
Are you the one who killed the batted man?
Did you say bats or bad?
Column A, column B.
Yeah, it's probably a little bit of both, let's be honest.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, I think you do a good job here. I think killing the Batman was the right call.
You do a perfectly adequate.
Hey, I mean, perfectly adequate. That's better than 50% of people could do. Yeah, I'll take that.
There you go. Later today, we are going to talk about Gotham Knights, which is indeed a game.
They did release it as a video game, I think.
Yep, it is one of the games of the year. But first, let's talk about some news. And let's start with a pretty big one. This is one you've probably heard about the most because this has been hitting like mainstream news media even. About the whole Bayonetta 3 controversy with the voice actor or voice actress Helena Taylor after she made accusations that she was only offered $4,000 for doing the whole Bayonetta 3, and that's after negotiating. Turns out that may not be the case thanks to some reporting done by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, who got his hands on some documents and had a couple sources tell him that it's more like they offered her 4,000 or so across multiple sessions, as in like each session would pay out 4,000. So you'd be
4
looking
to 5 sessions. So it's going to be like
20,000.
Yeah, 4 or 5 times as much as she was claiming.
Yeah, like 15 to 20,000 at least is what you'd be looking at for pay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that just kind of doesn't make Helena Taylor look good, because I think there was another outlet as well that got some sort of
they corroborated it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's not just one lone random source out there, right?
Well, not only that, but Schreier's earned the right to be taken as extremely credible.
Oh, 100%.
So
His sourcing is phenomenal.
Yes. And I think even later in the week, Platinum Games officially released a statement saying like, "Hey, we stand by Jennifer Hale. Please don't keep insulting her."
Yeah, that might be the worst part of all this is the hate she got.
Mm-hmm.
And what sucks about that too is that it was not. I'm not going to point it all at her, but Helena Taylor and her thing kind of said, "Oh, she didn't name Jennifer Hale, but said whoever's doing it
Shouldn't have taken the role.
Shouldn't be doing it, et cetera, et cetera." Basically throwing shade her way when it's like, well, that didn't really fit right.
Yeah.
And the internet was all too ready to pick up every single torch and pitchfork at their disposal.
Wait, are you trying to imply that the internet has knee-jerk reactions that are very extreme?
Yes.
If I was, fuck you, is all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Oh no, you shocked Otten. Oh no.
That was a different reason. Anyway.
Yeah, you're watching the football in the background.
I'm watching the football.
Screen. Yeah.
On full disclosure, Otten's right there. Otten's cousin plays for the Tampa Bay Bucks. So
anyway,
if you see him like lose his shit mid podcast, that's why.
Yes.
Yeah. But no, it's people very, very quickly, very hotly hopped on. I mean, is Harada right?
No, that's the Tekken guy.
No, that's the Tekken guy.
Hideki Kamiya.
Yep.
Kamiya, that's it. Kamiya wasn't doing any favors for the controversy.
No, it wasn't. It was kind of classic Kamiya, what he does all the time, just under a much bigger microscope than normal.
Yeah,
he's always doing that shit.
He started popping off.
And that was the wrong time to stick to his shtick.
He's not on Twitter anymore.
Yeah,
this is the importance of PR. PR across every industry. Always have a PR person. Having a figurehead is great, but that figurehead, that person that does all the talking, needs to know when to shut the fuck up and let the PR people do their fucking job.
Right. Yeah. And if it's the games industry, we need to make sure that the PR people get paid more than the voice actors.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah. That's the biggest takeaway from all of this. I think that we're all in agreement of it.
What has been nice is to see, Jennifer Hale's obviously one of the biggest names in gaming voice acting.
Yeah, like you've probably played at least one game that she's
not even probably. I'd almost guarantee it. If you've played any number of games, she's probably voiced somebody in it. It was nice to see a bunch of other voice actors obviously came out to support and talked about how she was like the big union stuff that was happening. She's the one that offered her house for everybody to meet at to do that, and like was very supportive of a whole bunch of stuff.
Mhm.
And it's big person voice of support for smaller VOs, because obviously she knows where she sits in the industry. So it's like, of all the people, it's not like it was somebody that was known to be like, yeah, they're kind of a scumbag or whatever. It's like, by all accounts, she seems to be very supportive of the community of voiceover actors.
Probably one of the most respected.
Yeah. So it was nice to see more of that highlight coming her way. So as much shit was coming her way, there was some good stuff that came out about her that I think hopefully stuck with more people than the other nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, she was under NDA too, so like going after her also wasn't fair because she literally could not talk about it.
She can't
Like,
say anything.
and yeah, it's just bad move from the start to even involve someone else. Like, if you've got an issue with a company, keep it to you.
Yeah.
Don't start pulling others in, because that's when the internet does its thing and it just gets vitriolic.
Yeah, because I think it kind of felt like Helena Taylor was trying to use the internet, like the collective, the internet, to do something for her.
She watched the Sonic movie and said, "Huh, they did do something positive here."
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, she was going as far as asking like people to boycott the game just for her, which I mean, you know, there's something to be said about like, oh, she created the Bayonetta character. Bayonetta is pretty important in the video game Bayonetta, right? So if this were like a legitimate, she was shafted, I could see it. But if you're like lying about it, which all the evidence seems to be pointing that way, it feels kind of shitty to also say, and boycott this video game just for me.
Well, and then the other part of it too is like, so if it was bogged down contract negotiations, whatever it was, where they couldn't agree, right? And she wanted to highlight something like, see how poorly they get compensated versus some big name, whatever it is. That wasn't in it at all. It was all very selfishly me kind of stuff. But the one good thing about it is it did spark a big discussion of just how shitty everybody gets compensated in gaming, and voiceovers are included in that. Voiceover actors, like there was a bunch of them comparing what they're getting paid for doing movies or TV shows to games, and it's like nothing. They get paid like little in comparison.
Well, and I mean, like for her, it was like 4 or 5 sessions for the entire game, which doesn't seem like a lot, right? You know, that's probably 7 to 10 hours somewhere in there in the studio. But what's not accounted for in that is the amount of time most voice actors have to spend training their voice to be able to even kind of handle that level of
it's a lack of respect for it's kind of like, you know, there's the famous story of, I think it's Henry Ford or whatever, some engineer came down to the factory and he like marked a spot on this machine that needed fixed, and he's like, all right, that'll be 10 grand or whatever. He's like, all you did was that. He's like, yeah, but I knew where to put the fucking mark. He's like, yeah, good point. And then paid him. Like, that's it. It's like, that's what you're paying for,
right? It's the expertise and the experience.
We
like,
did
crazy how good they are at it.
Yeah, we did that interview with JB Blank a couple of years ago. That kind of had a lot of interesting information in it in terms of like the level of effort it takes to even do like the grunts and the screams that you hear in video games. Like it does take a toll on your voice, and he talked a little bit about that. So it's not as easy as just walking up to a mic and talking, and I don't think everyone fully realizes that. I mean, same thing with like mocap type stuff. Like, you've got to be able to display emotion in a way that can translate into that model as well.
Well, and then mocap's also like a full body like it's not just trained to your voice, right? It's the whole, you're moving around, you're on set, you're basically performing like for a play or a movie almost.
It's just
in how this all extends as well. We've been seeing more and more discussions across other industries as well. I know that there's been a huge stink in the past 2 weeks or so for anime voice actors as well. And that's why you'll always see, if you pull up like, you know, Sean Schimmel's IMDb profile, or like a prolific anime voice actor like Yuri Lowenthal, you'll see that they didn't just voice the main character, but they voiced that side character and that side character and additional voices. That's probably 10 other additional random voices that you've
And
heard.
it seems like in anime, there's like 20, 30, a group of 30 people that kind of do everything.
Yeah, it's like the same group.
Yeah,
Like,
same people.
yeah, like Yuri Lowenthal, I always think about because he has a pretty like you can pick out his voice. It's pretty iconic in a way. So when he voices like Spider-Man, because I think he is Marvel's Spider-Man, Peter Parker, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, he's pretty good at that. But then like you play, I don't know, like Metal Gear Solid or something, and you're shooting random guards, and one of the guards has a scream that sounds just like Yuri Lowenthal, and I'm like 90% sure that he goes from like being the star of a game to like a grunt you're gonna shoot and forget about. Like,
Yeah,
it runs the gamut.
and that's purely because of how abysmal the pay is.
Mhm.
It's like, they pick up 50 roles. Like the guy who voices Goku, Sean Schimmel, is also King Kai.
Yep.
With like the weird little like nasally
dude.
tiny voice, and it's just an entirely different take.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You have to think too about Sean's voice because like if you've watched any Dragon Ball, there's a little bit of screaming in that show, and
Just a little
that
bit.
takes a toll on your throat and your vocal
There
cords.
are you can find videos on YouTube of behind the scenes on Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3.
Very
That's a
specific.
lot of words.
That's the best DBZ fighting game. But they'll
Fighters?
like
So yeah.
no.
Okay.
They show all of these pages of just all of the different efforts they need to give, all of the small grunts, the sighs, the pants, the screams, the rage, the power up noises, the fusion shouts, the different attack name, and it's a fascinating video to watch to just see someone in the sound booth doing recording, and all they'll do is like grunt and scream for 15 seconds. So I was feeling like good about like the first 3, and then like the other ones I feel like I didn't quite get that, so like we'll come back to that one. And
take it from the top again.
No, that's getting back to the expertise thing. It's crazy like how they can do that convincingly, and obviously Dragon Ball Z is over the top. It's got its own flair to it for how they sound. But I wish I could remember who did it. It might have been Variety or something like that, where they did a video with various voiceover actors, and they would give them like just a new hand-drawn character that somebody had just made up for them and say, hey, create a voice for that. And it was interesting to hear them talk about what they consider, like, what do they look like? Like, could you give me a bit of the background on the character or whatever? And they produced a voice that like, you're like, oh, that's just fits that person. It's kind of crazy how easily they can do that. Like we all have an idea of like, if you have the slimy guy character, like the little henchman guy, you already know a little bit of probably how he or she's gonna sound. And that's because of the work that they put into it.
Yeah. And for every take you hear that gets in like the anime, the game or whatever, there's like at least 10 takes before that, even if it's just a little grunt, right? Like they're doing that little grunt 10 plus times just to get,
because they want to do it in a
grunt.
just it's a perfect thing, or the emphasis on this word or that word or this emotion coming through or that like whatever. There's a million ways to say stuff that people don't appreciate. Yeah, like they say, what was it? Is it like 4 to 8 hours of recording time will produce almost about an hour of what goes into a game or whatever, something like that.
Yeah. So to bring it all back to the Bayonetta 3 thing, it's pretty clear that like these voice actors, they do a lot. Like there's a lot of expertise going on here that I think is underappreciated. And then now the story is coming out that's showing it's also financially they're being a little underappreciated as well.
Yeah. Well, that's the gaming industry in a nutshell. Everybody is underappreciated and underpaid, it seems like.
A little bit.
It sucks.
I mean, we talked about this a little too, is there's no royalties. So you are voicing this iconic character that, hundreds of thousands, millions of people are going to play, and you get paid up front and that's it. There's nothing past that. Those sales that go for the next 10 years, you get none of that.
Every time there's a re-release and they reuse the original VO.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know, like someone like since Mario movies come around, like someone like Charles Martinet, how much money he's been paid to be Mario. I mean, Mario's one of the most valuable franchises in the world. It's like top 5 for money made, or top 10. Billions and billions of dollars, and I'd be very curious because I bet you it's not that much. Like, I mean, we might be talking a couple million or millions, but in the grand scheme, it's like, boy, He's not getting all that much.
I mean, it's like what Helena Taylor said in her video, right? It's like the fat cat skim off the top, which
Yeah.
I mean,
Hashtag capitalism.
point in an industry that doesn't do that.
Yeah. It's just one of those like you don't want to see how the sausage is made when it comes to games. Like it's one of those things that happens when you commodify entertainment or like quote unquote art or things that people engage with.
Sausage is made
not fun.
reference is actually pretty valid because like everybody in gaming goes through the grinder as you create a game. Like,
everyone
you got
becomes
crunch time,
sausage.
you've got overwork, you've got harassment. Like it is literally a meat grinder to create a video game.
So anyway, show some extra appreciation for a certain character you might like, or the voices, somebody that you cherish. Find out who they are.
Yeah, go through, like, find a video game you love, pull up the cost list, take a look and see what those other people have done. You'll find some cool stuff.
And you'll probably be surprised. Be like, oh shit, I didn't realize so and so did this and that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like connections there.
Oh yeah,
Frank Welker. Frank Welker is one of those actors that it'll just be a random movie, whatever, and he'll be a horse in the background.
But he'll be the best damn horse you've ever heard.
Yeah, he's the Fred and Scooby-Doo voice actor, but you'll just like his IMDb page is incredible to read through. I highly recommend going and doing that.
There's a ton of them are crazy. Like Tom Kenny, SpongeBob. Just you realize how much he has been done besides SpongeBob.
Oh yeah, so much. Yeah. And not all of them sound like SpongeBob. Obviously, like his dynamic range is
it's wild because it's so specific. Like there's no way you can do the other voices because of how insane SpongeBob sounds. But he's obviously super
that's
good
got to be tearing his voice up at this point.
Yeah. Especially that laugh, like, ooh.
That wasn't bad.
There you go. Yeah, and I think in terms of the story, I think what we can take away from it is, don't put away the pitchforks, put away the torches. Like, there's no need to run a crusade in either direction for this right now, especially because we're in a weird, like, he said, she said moment. But one side seems a little more backed up by sources than the other. But
seems to be.
Wait for both sides. Wait for more information. Don't go off of the first kind of statement.
And how about just basically, there's never a time to get this upset about any fucking thing about someone making a game. It's just not worth it. Not worth the emotion to put into it. It's never worth attacking someone personally or saying anything. It's just not. Just don't do it.
We're gonna talk about Elex then?
No.
Well, only subhumans play that, so I can talk shit about them. So.
Oh no. Well, that's
so I'm in line with Sonic fans now.
Yeah, I think Otten just
you're just as sad.
himself.
They're sad people. These Sonic fans.
Sonic Frontiers can't come soon enough.
Is this where we announce I'm reviewing it?
Guaranteed sub 5 score.
Go ahead and message Sam right now. Be like, do not give it to Otten.
Let's talk about a different Japanese video game. Let's talk about Resident Evil. Last week there was a big Resident Evil showcase where they showed off some stuff from the gold edition of Resident Evil Village, where we see more of Rose. Like, you get to play as her in your DLC. You get to play the big lady in Mercenaries. But probably the biggest reveal of the whole showcase was, of course, RE-Verse, everyone's favorite multiplayer thing that's coming out soon, right? Everyone very excited about that?
Sure.
Which failed multiplayer Resident Evil game is that again?
The one that hasn't come out yet, that was supposed to come out like 2 years ago.
Okay.
It's called Reverse.
Reverse, yeah.
As in, that's what people will do when they play it.
But
do a 360 and reverse out of there.
And the real big story, though, Resident Evil 4 Remake. We got a big gameplay showcase of that where we get to see Leon fight in that village scene in the beginning. If you played the game, you're probably very familiar with it. It's where you get mobbed by a ton of zombies.
Can't look at his face. They won't let you.
You get to see that kind of played out, and then there's like a big story trailer where you get to see every like major cutscenes from the game redone, and it looks pretty good. Looks like really good. Like visually.
If there's one company to follow for like remakes of classic games, it's Capcom, what they've been doing with Resident Evil, no question.
Mhm.
I think I don't play the games, but you can definitely see the quality and craftsmanship in them, and people have been very happy with all of them, and they all seem like pretty great.
Yes,
It's really impressive just with the scale of these remakes, that like it's not just some little superficial thing. They're updating, adding so much to it. It's almost like they have two successful franchises running right now, and it's just the same franchise.
yeah.
Like the Resident Evil 2, 3, now 4. It's just a whole new franchise, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. I think what's going to be interesting with this one is with 2, right? Like that, the original game had such a different perspective and a different feel that the remake itself was like, because it was a third-person action game, it was immediately different. But here, Resident Evil 4 was one of the best video games, and it's like it had that third-person action sort of perspective, right? So this remake, that's not going to feel different necessarily in terms of like such a drastic shift in mode. So the real question is, I guess, how much change will there be
I think
that makes it feel different, right?
The biggest thing that will be for me for 4, after playing some of the original 4, will be that it'll have right stick support. Because the original game, like it had a button to pull up your weapon, but then you would aim with the left stick still. And after going from like playing stuff at the time like Halo Combat Evolved, and then going to Resident Evil 4 was just like, this feels like, it feels gross, it feels wrong. It's that idea of a twin stick first person shooter or third person shooter very like so quickly became the best way to do shooters. It'll be, I think that will be the biggest thing, that quality of life change will make it I don't want to say more playable or tolerable, because people love not Final Fantasy, Resident Evil 4.
People do love that one too.
They do. Tangential. People who already love the game, it's obviously not a huge problem for a lot of people, but I wonder how much more of a market this will then add to.
It's up there. It's one of the games released on like the most platforms too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4, how many times it's been re-released?
Do you think that they're going to release a new chainsaw controller?
That's what made me sad, because they revealed the collector's edition, right? $250. And I really had been hoping that the collector's edition would have the chainsaw controller, just like a new like DualSense and the new Xbox controller, but chainsawed. But instead, it's just a statue of Leon for $250 and some art books. But
you can look at his face there.
You can, yeah. But $250 for a statue and the game, but that.
I mean, at least you get the game. There's some collector's editions we get nowadays that doesn't have the case.
The Sony ones, they don't come with the games. They'll give you a steelbook, but there's no game inside of it.
Right.
You get a code.
So a question, looking to the future, kind of Resident Evil 4 was really the peak of Resident Evil. And after that, I think we can all agree 5 and 6 started to trend downwards, and also 5 and 6 being what Gen 7 titles on the 360 and the was it Gen 6? I don't know. Yeah, 360 PS3.
Yeah.
So, do you reckon that they'll be looking to do a 5, or will they go back and do a proper remake of the first one?
I think at some point they'll do 5. I think with seemingly they're looking at these as opportunities to improve some stuff, because they're not just one-to-one. Here it is again, but it looks prettier. I think that they would like to be like, all right, we can take another crack at this and improve it. And with the so far, every single one's been amazing. And since they put out 7 and everybody liked the ideas that they were going with there in the direction, they kind of have a really good idea of what works now. And I think that they would like to see a little bit of redemption for themselves. It'd be like, I told you there was a good idea in here.
Yeah.
Told you.
Him punching the boulder wasn't dumb.
I do hope we get to see the boulder punch again, and then just see that rendered in 4K glory, right? But if we're talking about these remakes, I think Auden has a really good point, right? That these remakes feel like far better versions of the games, right? Or like it's a new way to look at it, and that's why I think if they did announce like 4, 5, 6 years from now, if they announce a Resident Evil 6 remake, I would genuinely be very interested in that, because I'd be curious, like, because 6 was like the low point, the lowest of low points for the mainline Resident Evil series, and I'd be curious to see how do they want to change that.
Do you think that they'll make the logo not look like a giraffe getting a blowjob?
I hope
Make it super high def this time.
yeah, make it explicit.
Well, it's just thinking of how they do the remakes, like in comparison to what Naughty Dog did recently with Last of Us Part 1, like gorgeous looking, obviously. It's the same game though. Like there's some very minor things, but it's the exact same game. That's not a bad thing necessarily, but I do like that Capcom is like, all right, this is an opportunity to change some stuff up that maybe we didn't like or didn't land as well as we thought, whatever it might be.
They didn't like that you could save the dog from the bear trap, so
Apparently not.
the new one, that dog did.
They want to make you sad right off the bat.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah, I think Resident Evil 4 remake's been a long time coming. I think that's the one thing that when 2 came out, everyone was like, oh boy, I can't wait for 4, right?
Yeah.
And here it is. It's almost here, March 24, right?
March
Sure.
March something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun. That'll be a good time to play some spooky horror. And
when when spring begins.
Yes.
Classic.
And it's not the only famous Japanese horror series to have announcements from last week.
That's right. Kojima's back, baby, right? That's what I heard.
That Junji Ito collection on Netflix looking fun.
Those are the ones I'm thinking of, guys, with Death Stranding 2 and Junji Ito. No, Silent Hill. Silent Hill's back. We're returning to Silent Hill. Literally.
Konami still does game stuff. Apparently.
What do you mean returning?
Somehow.
I feel like we haven't stopped hearing about Silent Hill for the past 5 years.
That's true. Guillermo del Toro's back, right?
Yeah, rumor after rumor
back
after
on it.
rumor. But we finally got a showcase of a bunch of Silent Hill stuff, and it's not just Silent Hill 2. Although we are getting a remake of Silent Hill 2 that does look pretty, like visually looks very good, very fancy, right? We're getting a bunch of other Silent Hill games like Silent Hill Townfall, being developed by No Code Studios and publisher Annapurna. Silent Hill F, which is a very unfortunate name, kind of, but it's written by the Higurashi writer, Ryukishi. And Silent Hill Ascension, which is seeming to be like a Pokemon Go or a Let's Play Pokemon sort of thing.
That's a video game ass name.
Yeah.
The big question is, can we put PT behind us now?
No.
Like, can we move on?
No.
The second this remake, whatever's revealed or out, that's going to be the immediate comparisons.
Well, also people have just last week or the week before figured out how to disable the PS5 blacklist and have got PT running on retail hardware versions of the PS5.
Yeah, PT will never die.
No, it's
Clearly.
it's just a thing. It's part of the like gaming cosmos now.
Yeah.
It's never going away.
Yeah. I do think it says a lot, though, that when we found out that, there's going to be a Silent Hill showcase coming out soon, it was very easy to make jokes of like, can't wait for the Silent Hill pachinko machine. You know, because it's kind of just been the path Konami's been on.
I saw a great tweet from someone that's like, it's wild that after 8 years of doing nothing in the game space, that Konami has come out and not just said that we're doing something, but we're doing 5 things. It's all in the same franchise. We hope there are still fans for this.
Yes.
Like, that is very much putting every single one of their eggs in a single basket.
Makes you wonder about the future of how much they're going to use this as justification to do more or not do more in the future. Because they hold a lot of classic IPs in their pocket that they have done jack shit with for a while.
Yeah.
And I kind of, it's just, if Silent Hill 2 comes out and there's performance issues or something minor, is that then going to mean that they'll be able to say, well, it's the rest of You know, the rest of Silent Hill, obviously you guys don't care about it. You didn't buy it, so why should we keep making it?
I mean, how sad would it be though, right? If Silent Hill 2 remake flops, because the clamor and demand for it has been palpable. You can feel it in the air in the gaming space. Like it can feel a little bit like cult classic underground sort of, but Silent Hill 2 consistently gets praise whenever it's brought up in a conversation.
All the
so
time.
it would be just probably the worst catastrophe if Silent Hill 2 comes out.
It's one of those risks when you're gonna be like, all right, we're gonna remake or do some reimagining of a classic, whatever it is. I'm sure like it's very similar to how Square was feeling when they're like, all right, we're doing Final Fantasy VII, and everybody's like, ooh, like I remember initially hearing about it, I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Like it is what it is now, and everybody's got their idea of what it is, and obviously they nailed it to me, in my opinion, anyway. But I'm sure I'm trying to think of. There's got to be an example of someone just fucking something up recently, but I can't think of one.
Of a classic.
Yeah. They do it with movies all the time.
Yeah, for sure. But I think when you compare this to what we were just talking about with Capcom, right? I think Resident Evil 4 is that same idea, where if they just like cold out of nowhere said we're remaking Resident Evil 4, we would have that same I don't know about that. But I think Capcom has really earned that pedigree, right? Of like they have done remakes, they do remakes well. We have some faith in
I wanted to look up a quick list to see what are some video game remakes that occurred that fell short of the mark. Got the 13, the XIII, that in the Steam remake and in footage and stuff, you could see like the dolphin like status symbols and stuff, and that ran like trash. Ironically, the Silent Hill HD collection was also an HD collection that people complained about. And Warcraft 3 Reforged.
Yeah, what a fucking pile of shit that was. Still sucks.
I don't think that there's anything else.
So while we're on the topic of remakes, how about Mega Man Legends? That's Capcom.
You really want to bring that up though when we just brought up a bunch of failed remakes, like you're shooting some bad juju out right now.
I don't know. Capcom is weird how they just don't. They're like, Mega Man, you're extremely backburnered. It's like which felt like the mascot for Capcom forever.
It did, yeah. I mean, it was such a huge part of their portfolio for so long.
But to be fair, I feel like they're pretty busy with Resident Evil, Street Fighter, and Monster Hunter. Like those three are doing very well for them right now.
Capcom as a company doesn't get named enough for like just how much they've been kind of knocking everything out of the fucking park lately. I mean, Devil May Cry came out.
Yeah,
that's true too.
Dead Rising 4. Oh wait,
we'll talk about that one.
That's the one that I shouldn't be bringing up.
But I'm just saying, like in terms of big, pretty big name companies, like doing extremely well with just about every IP they have. Like they've been doing it.
Yeah, and I feel like all of their IP has such dedicated fan bases too, right? Like for the longest time, I could never get into Monster Hunter, but it always felt like this, like I'm the only one not having fun at the party.
Exactly.
You know?
Mad FOMO for that kind of franchise.
Yeah, but now that I got into Rise, got like 70 hours, 80 hours into it, like I get it. It clicked with me then, and it felt like, okay, this is pretty cool. I think it says a lot that Capcom can do that with like such wildly different, like Monster Hunter doesn't play like Resident Evil, right? Like they're all crazy different. Yeah, but Silent Hill.
Anyway, Konami does not have that reputation.
No.
So who knows?
Like if Konami announced the Symphony of the Night remake,
Interestingly, for kind of their portfolio, Resident Evil is its #1 selling franchise at 127 mil. Monster Hunter's after that at 84, then Street Fighter at 48, and Mega Man at 38. For their top 4. DMC is 5th.
I feel like DMC's had a pretty rocky, like
pretty up and down.
It's not until 5 where it's been like, this is really, really good. You know, I mean 3 too.
I guess though, in terms of Mega Man remakes, they've remade like all of the Mega Man games, all of the X games that included the ZX stuff. They're doing Battle Network now. There's not much more for them to
year next year.
remake, but Legends. And I
Yeah.
could imagine
I
a
guess
Legends Tronbon and Legends 2 collection would be easy enough.
Yeah, even if you just kind of ported it to modern consoles, that would be great.
Well, that kind of stuff, but it's
That's
like
kind of the sticking point at the moment is you can't really play
Yeah,
it on
it's
modern
true.
consoles.
Mm.
it'd just be interesting to see them try new stuff too. Like the newest thing Mega Man's been in is fucking Smash.
Well, Mega Man 11.
Yeah, I know there was Mega Man.
right?
There was Mega Man 11. That's true.
Mhm.
But it's just I don't know.
Yeah,
They
but
also-
I want an X. I need a Mega
Yes,
Man X.
a new
new
Mega
Yeah,
Man
they
X
stick to
would be
their
amazing.
guns so hard with the Mega Man franchise. Like Mega Man 11 and Mega Man 7 are not that dissimilar.
But yeah, the classic Mega Man games, like they're all pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, I think it's after they introduced the slide and what, like 2 or 3 after that.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, I
okay,
think it was
now we're
3. And then
Yeah.
that's it.
Yep. Mhm.
But yes, I'm with you, Robert. New Mega Man X, I'd be all over that.
Mhm.
Same. Yeah. That's why I keep playing Into Creates games every now and then, because they made the Mega Man Zero games. So there's a little bit of that same feeling in some of their games,
Yeah.
which is kind of
That's
nice.
like the Azure Striker Gunvolt or
Striker
whatever.
Gunvolt.
And they have
Luminous Wonder.
kind of a look of Mega Man 2 a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Definitely.
I checked out one of their new games in PAX. I don't remember the name of it, but it felt very Simon's Questy, like Castlevania 3 Simon's Quest. So I don't know, like they get that DNA right, but I don't think it has that same charm and that same feel that Mega Man X and Zero have. You know? Yeah. Anyway, good luck to Konami, doing all their Silent Hill stuff. Hopefully the movie's good. We'll see.
The one that's the game that's got Annapurna Publishing has probably got a good shot.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's that same kind of like I think Silent Hill has that capacity to be good in like an indie way, like with indie approach
Absolutely.
with like narrative focus as opposed to like the big budget.
Well, yeah, because I mean, even if we're talking about Silent Hill 2, it was a smaller game in general. Anyway, it's not a massively sprawling game.
Right. Yeah. Let's have a little bit of fun and let's talk about this last news story we have here. Do you guys
Evolve
remember-
Stage 2's back.
Yeah, Evolve's back, baby. Evolve, that asynchronous multiplayer game where 4 people are hunting one monster that evolves throughout the game, died in 2018 when was it EA, right? Or no, Take Two.
Yes, Take Two.
Yeah, or 2K.
Well, 2K is owned by Take Two, but yeah.
Yeah, when they shut down the servers and you couldn't play it anymore. But there are fans out there who were like, we want to keep playing. So they created fan servers. And now 2K's looking at that big pile of potential money and clapping their hands and rubbing them together and saying, how can we
Twirling the
cash in on
mustache.
that?
Yeah.
So they're
Well,
looking at potentially reviving the series in some way, and they want to, quote, explore options to continue to support the fans.
Yeah.
Well, it all kind of comes on the heels of the community standing up their own servers just so they can keep playing, which is kind of neat. Like, like there was a big surge in mid-August that saw about 2,500 people playing at once, when historically over the last 3 years it's been like 40 people were on at any given time. So it's definitely like seeing a bounce back of at least a larger group of the community like wanting to find a way to continue playing it. And it was a flop, but I think had they given it more time for them to kind of address community concerns at release, it had a lot of potential as a game.
Yeah.
Like it was a very intriguing and interesting concept.
I think that's what you mean by potential. It sounded neat on paper. Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
I don't really know if it works out. Like if like even if you're gonna make it an entirely different style, just that idea is just. It's got to be insanely difficult to balance in a satisfying way where it doesn't feel like someone's fucking somebody else over big time.
Yeah, that's true.
That was also back when asynchronous multiplayer wasn't as much of a thing.
True.
I think that Evolve had a lot of stuff that if it released nowadays, I would roll my eyes to that at the time were bigger things. I know that one of the big issues with it at launch as well was like $400 worth of cosmetics in the DLC store. But nowadays, we've just had Overwatch 2 launch with $12 skins, and we don't even say anything about it. The road to getting back to official Overwatch, not Overwatch, official Evolve, they're probably gonna have to take down, like DMCA, take down the fan servers the same way that Activision did for World of Warcraft, so that they could bring out World of Warcraft Classic.
Right.
So people are gonna get fucking pissed off with that, and that might kill any goodwill. There's much better resources for asynchronous multiplayer, how well it works. Dead by Daylight is fucking huge. I think that's probably the biggest success story of async gaming nowadays, and it shows that it can be done, but the balance, the timing was wrong for Evolve at the time. That I think if Evolve had released 4 years later, when it had like gotten shut down, I think it would have been much better received by lieu of not having not being like the sore thumb sticking out amongst the crowd, but how many other thumbs there would be in the mix at that point.
What I wonder too, right? So I agree, Dead by Daylight's pretty like a success story, right? But I feel like I don't hear about it on the same wavelength in terms of number of players as like your typical AAA shooter, right? Like a Call of Duty. Like
that's definitely the space Evolve seems to live in more.
That's exactly it, right? So I think if it's being published by Take-Two or 2K, like they're expecting millions and millions of people to be playing this game, and I don't think that's
it will never
a
be
base
that.
you can tap into, right? I think Evolve or asynchronous games have been kind of destined to really like have the success that Dead by Daylight's having, which is successful for that team.
It's more of a niche thing,
So I think that'd be considered a failure by AAA.
Dead by Daylight on Steam in the last 24 hours peaked at 63,000 players.
Yeah, it's a lot of people to play.
Which is that's way more than I expected it to be. I'm going to be honest.
Well, I think like part of like what Robert's getting at, part of the challenge with Evolve is it does live in that kind of that shooter space and this competitive me versus you kind of thing, which Dead by Daylight isn't that. I'm not shooting at the guy chasing after me, I'm running away from kind of thing. So it's not like I have a certain set of firepower and this person does, and we try to win out in the end. It gives you, it's a much different dynamic. Because the assumption is like in like Dead by Daylight, you get caught by the dude, you're fucked. Like, and everybody knows like that's kind of the deal.
It's like a horror. It's literally
a horror game. Yeah.
Like you're not going to be able to kill Michael Myers. Just you shoot him with an M16 or some shit, right? So I think it is just different kind of expectations. But I am wondering too if with this possible return, right, like where they're saying, hey, we want to continue to support options, I wonder if this is them kind of like realizing, okay, we're not going to reach like the success what we initially were thinking, but maybe this is what, like, continuing down this path, this is what success looks like for Evolve.
It'd be interesting. I mean, like bro say, it's very interesting idea on paper that it would be really cool to see it work well. Like if they want to dedicate some more time to be like, okay, how can we tweak this to actually make it a little more satisfying? Like actually having people sit around, think about it and try it. It would be interesting.
Well, they're interacting with the community already. So, I mean, it would be nice if they kind of take community feedback to heart and say, like, okay, you guys have been keeping this alive and continuing to play it. Like, how do we improve? Rather than taking kind of a unilateral decision like this is how we think it'll work. I think some of the most successful games, the ones that have grown and improved the most, are the ones that like actually take community feedback and make change to that based on what the community's saying, rather than what we think X, Y, or Z is best. I think if they could do that collaborative approach with the community that's kept it alive, like there's a significant amount of potential. Like, no, it's not going to do Call of Duty numbers, but it could consistently probably pull Dead by Daylight numbers, which is 50 to 60,000 at any given time.
Right. And that too, they also can take learnings both like from themselves, but from the fans, like learnings from Dead by Daylight. And then maybe some of the other failed asynchronous shooters that have come out since. Like, wasn't that Prey game or like Predator game?
Yeah, there was
like an asynchronous thing.
There was a Predator one that was async.
Yeah, I don't remember if that was a great one or not. But like, you know,
I saw a lot of people playing it the month that it came out, and then I just never heard about it again.
Yeah, but so there've been more since. I mean, a fucking Dragon Ball asynchronous multiplayer game came out last week, I think, right?
True.
I forgot that came out.
True.
Dragon Ball the Breakers or something.
Yeah.
Play as Cell and terrorize a village.
Yeah, kill all the humans and the pig. So I mean, there's been no shortage of asynchronous games coming out, or not asynchronous, multiplayer. No,
Asynchronous.
Asynchronous.
Yeah. Or no, it would be asynchronous, right? Because asynchronous is like not at the same time. Oh fuck me! What is it? Well, you know, the 4v1, right? Like yeah. There's been a lot of those games coming out, so there's learnings that they can pick up from other projects as well. Because Evolve was kind of the first big one I remember trying to tackle that.
The first
genre.
really big budget thing.
Yeah. So maybe it's all part of the pun of the name of the game. Asymmetrical. That's it.
We were close.
Asymmetrical. Wow, we just had a whole conversation about it. It's like asynchronous and just like didn't bat an eye the whole time.
It's okay. To anyone who's left a comment to let us know that we're using the wrong word, we corrected ourselves.
Yeah, feel free to delete the comment now. Thank you. Or actually leave it up for engagement. But yeah. But maybe this is all part of the pun of the name. The game is evolving. It's a continuous evolution, right, of what it could eventually become.
I don't hold much hope for it, but
it'll be back. It'll have a bit of a heyday, and then it will die again.
Maybe we'll have to see, right? Well, let's shift over and talk about some games. Stretch, you've been playing Gotham Knight, and what is Gotham Knight? Is that like a remake of Arkham Knight, or
no? Isn't it Knights? Isn't it plural?
Gotham Knights. So Batman's dead.
Oh,
he dies at the very beginning. It's based off, the team up of Robin, Nightwing, Red Hood, and Batgirl. Interestingly enough, they still haven't gotten to like the Robin in this one is Tim Drake, with how much Damian Wayne has been getting screen time in movies and comics and stuff. I was a little bit surprised that they didn't use him, or he may show up later in the story. I don't know. But yeah, it's very much an Arkham game. It feels like they've kind of, if Arkham Asylum was like very close story based, ever forward momentum, and then with every subsequent Arkham release, it's kind of become more and more spaced out and like a larger city, and it's more about small crimes in the city than it is like a focused, honed in story. This story seems the least focused of them all. Like, Batman dies and the Arkham Knights get together and they're going to investigate this thing that Bruce was looking into. And the first thing that it does, it's not like a quest to go and track down this person, or like, let's start things off with a bang, let's go, find the Penguin or something. It's go outside and take out some petty crime, and you beat up some petty criminals, and then they drop little red things, and that goes into a bar that is your like researching crimes. And then then you get intel, and then you can go and do the thing. I've only managed to stomach putting about 2 hours into it so far.
It's a stomach. That's a way to phrase it.
It sounds like Batman is rolling in his grave.
Sounds like they're putting some free to play mobile bullshit into it.
There's weapon crafting system and upgrades, and my 8 damage Eskrima stick is now an 11 damage Eskrima stick as Nightwing. And
sweet.
They pretty much, if they grabbed all of the RPG mechanics from the new generation of Assassin's Creed and threw it into the Arkham games. I'm a big superhero DC fan and stuff, and I'll probably play it. I'm in the middle of rewatching the entirety of Smallville right now. So I think having Gotham Knights going with something else going on the side, catching up on Critical Role or whatever, I think that's going to be where I find the most fun in playing this game.
You mean where you don't have to pay attention to it at all?
Right.
Yeah,
Where it's having your fingers do something else while you're watching a show.
Yeah. Gameplay and then like tuning in for whenever story stuff does happen. But it's very disappointing to see because the Arkham games are amazing.
So fun.
Yeah.
We have a whole there's an entire combat system built around what the Arkham games started with. The reason that Spider-Man plays so well is because it is all of the Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor stuff. All of that is like that same combat engine or that same combat style that is very obviously ripped, and it works well. It feels good. It feels weighty. It's a little bit silly when you're like fighting a guy over one side of the stage and then you like flying kick someone around and you can just start like bouncing out combos.
Yeah, well, Batman's peak human though. If anyone could do it, he could, right?
That's right.
So yeah,
that's every single action hero ever is only slowly moving towards becoming Batman. Like that is peak action hero. Like knowing that Master Chief got a grappling hook. Yeah, that's just him taking another step closer to being Batman.
So you're saying in Halo Infinite 2, we're going to see him have like the Master Rang? Throws like Master Rangs out there?
I mean, that'd be interesting. I'm sure that there will be some kind of more elaborate punch.
Like a 1-inch punch.
But
I wonder how much of it too is like, so story wise, how much Arkham's Joker like carried the fucking franchise. Really, like with no Joker in there, it's like, boy, like that was my favorite when Arkham Knight, the Joker was back. I was like, fucking yes. So like I'm way into this now.
Even when he's dead, he comes back because they know like they need the Joker.
They had the perfect idea for him in that, and it was like, this is the best.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm hoping that if they choose to continue this franchise, we might finally, if they're taking a half step away from Batman, like I would love to finally see a AAA Batman Begins or Batman Beyond game.
Batman Beyond.
Batman of the Future, I think it was called in like Europe and stuff.
Maybe it's the one where he's like that really sleek, like tight bodysuit, right?
Yeah, Terry McGinnis. Batman's clone. That was a weird episode of Justice League. Yeah, I would love to see them delving into that because I feel like there's too many comparisons to be made in another gritty take on Gotham City where you're a bat going around completing odd quests in an open world.
Right.
Would love to see some shakeup.
Well, because Gotham Knights is by WB Montreal, right?
They did
it's
Origins.
It's not the same studio that did the main quote unquote main three Arkham.
They're doing the Suicide Squad. Yeah.
So hell, maybe Suicide Squad will be the game that I'm looking forward to playing.
I would imagine it's got to be Rocksteady. Is every single one's been like, this is pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't done anything.
Rocksteady.
No, they haven't done anything since Arkham Knight, right? And that's like what, 2015, 16.
Yeah, hopefully the PC version's better this time.
Yeah.
If anybody remembers the news back then, that was big news.
Yeah,
the PC version of that was garbage.
That was probably one of the worst launches for a PC game.
Yeah, that's like the reason there's Steam refunds, right? Arkham Knight.
It was around that time.
I think you're right. I think that
I was playing it on my original Xbox One, and it ran fantastically.
Yeah, it was just PC that was just garbage.
So the inverse of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, but it's a shame to hear that Gotham Knights isn't quite great because I don't know.
I'll keep playing. I can report back with more info.
Sure, we won't require you to, but if that's what you need to finish Smallville, You do you. I don't know, because I remember seeing, trailers and marketing for it, and they were so confident in it. They were like, "Oh, we're moving the release date up by 3 days," which is great. But seeing all of the trailers and stuff, it seemed like they were trying to go for like and this is a pretty telling comparison, a very Marvel's Avengers sort of feel. Like loot and numbers and big and like multiplayer almost. I don't think this final product's multiplayer, right? You just choose from the 4 characters.
Yeah, it's got multiplayer.
You can do co-op.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it really is just like kind of living up to the Marvel's Avengers thing, which is not the most flattering kind of.
I wouldn't know. I haven't played enough Marvel's Avengers.
Well, I haven't played Gotham Knights, but it sucks that they're moving away from part of the satisfaction of Arkham Knight was getting the new, whatever technology Batman's got now, the next thing, what the hell does this do? And moving around as him, it wasn't not number based stuff, it's ability to do things.
Yeah, it's kind of Metroidvania.
There is still that.
Yeah.
So far all I've obtained is some extra combat moves and stuff. But there does seem to be like gadget upgrades and stuff that I will get access to. But yeah, for the main weapons and stuff to be number based, I'm gonna be very disappointed if I have to like grind some kind of like
sponge boss coming up.
Legendary
It looked
loot.
like there was a lot of like I saw somebody playing the game and it looked like the enemies were very bullet spongy, where like in Arkham, like you said, there was no number modifiers. It was just this enemy takes X number of hits or whatever.
Yeah, everything
and
has
so it made combat a lot more fluid.
Yeah, it's kind of
so Assassin's Creed.
I'm not sure if this series needed that.
No,
I didn't. No, that was what made that combat unique.
Mm-hmm. I have a quick question about the weapons. Like you'd mentioned that you upgrade them by numbers, but is it like you have the iron rod and then the steel rod, or there's just one rod, you just make the numbers bigger?
So I think that I'm a little bit too early to figure that out. I do know that in the upgrading of armor and the crafting of new armor pieces, you are working towards building specific suits from the shows and from the comics and stuff. So like the Batman metal, like there's the metal Nightwing suit. So I don't quite know how that will influence whether being metal means that you take less damage from bullets but you take more punching damage or something dumb like that,
right?
So it may expand out to be like much more variety. I really hope that it's not just like Nightwing has Eskrima sticks and they just get to be better Eskrima sticks,
bigger numbers.
Yeah,
that's a shame. I do not have high hopes for the rest of your time getting better, unfortunately, but
yeah, it's all good. I've got content to catch up on and I've now got a game to be playing, so I'm happy.
That's good, because we're coming up to a drought of games. Nothing really big's coming out anytime soon. So, yeah, so you have all the time in the world to play Gotham Knights.
Actually, if anything, it's kind of nicer that like in the lead up to so much chaos of games releasing, I've got something that I don't give two hoots about dropping as soon as a new game comes in. So it's something good enough to keep me entertained, but not good enough to hold.
Right. Well,
maybe it'll see a resurgence on Game Pass someday.
Yeah, or maybe like years from now, we'll get an update from WB Montreal, and they're like, we hear you. We see the fans support. We want to continue to explore ways to support the fans. Maybe that's what it'll be. Who knows? But with that, I think let's bring this episode to a close. We hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please feel free to give us a thumbs up on YouTube and leave a comment down below. Let us know one of your favorite voice actors and what your favorite role of theirs was, like why you like them so much. Let us know down below. You can also leave that comment on our site, TechRaptor.net, where we also publish a bunch of news, reviews, and features throughout the week. But if you want more of this show, we will be back in your feed next Monday. We'll see you then.